to the Two Broke Gaijin podcast. This is episode 12. Welcome. My name is Eddie. I'm one of the two broke guys that are going to be talking to you on this podcast about the journey to financial freedom. So for all of you who are out there and in that process just like us, you know, we're here to talk to you and help you out. And maybe you help us out. I don't know. Who knows? And joining me, as always, for our wonderful conversations in this magnificent, shining, bright city of Tokyo, Japan, is my buddy, my pal. This is Aaron.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to episode 12. Episode 12.
It's episode 12, right?
12 weeks. Well, not quite, but that's almost 3 months. Well, that's not quite, but still.
You know, it's interesting. Like, it's only episode 12, and it kind of feels like we've been doing this for a while.
Oh, I know, right? Well, yeah. Solidly for at least 2 months. So, yeah, wow. If you told me last year I'll be on episode 12 of a podcast, I would be like, what? What are you talking about? I have a podcast in the future? What?
I mean, my God. I wasn't even sure what podcasts were like a few years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Always happy to be here.
So, Aaron, how's your week been? What's up?
Oh, it's been actually not too much might happen this week. We just not a whole lot, to be honest with you. I've been everything's kind of got on the back burner. My store is simmering down a bit, but I want to kick that back up into high gear. I've got some plans for it, so it's carrying it out. Cryptocurrency is bending me over the table again, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
What about you, Eddie? How's it going?
Oh, I have to say, this has been one of the slower weeks of the past few months for me.
Yeah.
Like, it has been a slow week. I mean, really, the only thing the only thing that's really interesting and of news that of late that's happened to me is, in terms of the cryptocurrency gain, I know I just entered. Oh, yeah. But I've already
Fresh
made...
meat.
Yeah, I've already made quite a bit on Litecoin.
There you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
That was a good idea. Helping with that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people. Well, I wouldn't say a lot of people, but as you are well aware, I do have stock in Snap. And, yeah, and some good news came out, and they're now going to be, introducing links into their snaps and their whole platform, kind of a deal, and it's just things are just good news. Awesome. On that end, yeah, and I'm happy about that. But other than that, literally, like, both on the work front and everything else, it's just been slow, just really slow.
Right.
Yeah, like one of those times where you're just like, wow, I got everything that I need to do, and it's only been an hour.
Yeah. You're either really super productive, or you think time is just going so slow.
Yeah. It just it's been killing me, man. I'm telling you.
Oh, I know it.
Yeah.
I know it.
But anyway, yeah. So, Mr. Aaron, good sir, what's on the agenda for tonight?
So this week, guys, I think we're going to bring it back round again. And if you remember our Rich Dad Poor Dad review from episode 5, we're bringing that back around, and we're going to we're talking about Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill this week.
Oh,
yes,
yeah, that's a good book. Love it.
Oh yes, we have talked about this book in previous episodes, so we thought it'd be a great time to sort of break it down for you guys and sort of give you our thoughts on it.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, because I have to say, well, first off, I mean, I know I've said this before, but that probably one of the heaviest books that have changed my life. Hands down.
Yeah, it is one of the sort of the kind of pillars, the heavy hitters of those kind of books is Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
Yeah, another one's like How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's another one, and The Power of Positive Thinking. Those three are like the main ones, and they're timeless,
Oh, for sure. So, takes. What are your takes on it?
So in general, as I say, like overall, it's a great read. It's all about. It's more like with all these books. Actually, not even all of them, but at least this one, it's very mindset heavy.
For sure.
It's not very practical at all. It's all about like how you're thinking and what should be going on internally versus, you know, go and do this or go and do. It has a little bit of that, but not too much. So it's a very interesting read in that sense. So if you're reading it, you have to know what you're getting into, which is you're going to get that kind of introspective kind of book that makes you look inwards and see how things are going, which is you know, you kind of need that too, as well as the practical. And what about you, Eddie? How did you feel about the book?
I mean, I know I already said this again, but I absolutely love the book. I will have to say though, I think, yeah, I agree. It's definitely very internal heavy. It focuses a lot on your mindset of how you approach, well, I mean, getting rich, really, or not even necessarily mostly getting rich, but more along the lines of just how you should think in a specific way, or just kind of approach the game of being rich, if you will. I'm not exactly, that was the right phrase to say, but
right.
It was very, it threw a lot of truths, a lot of hard-hitting truths at me, and not necessarily going for the money, because, I mean, I know it's think and grow rich, but the thing is, there was a lot of concepts in there that you could take away from money and then just kind of really grow as a person, you know? And really, it's that part that kind of really hit home for me.
Okay.
Yeah. And then in terms of the money, yeah, sure. Like, the money is great and it'd be nice. And it makes quite a bit of sense, at least with quite a few of what Napoleon Hill wrote. But, you know, I think it's more the mindset aspects of it that definitely appealed to me the most. I will say that there are points in the book that I just do not agree with, but hey, it's still one of the heaviest books that I've ever read. And I won't say the heaviest book, but it's definitely one of the books that have the heaviest impact on me.
Right.
Yeah. And I would have to say that in terms of the internal thing, like, one of the things that he really does talk about the most within the book is he mentions a lot how, like, apparently as a person, your subconscious plays a huge role in your life, in both, not just in terms of money or what you're doing, but as a person.
Oh, indeed, yeah.
Yeah. And, like, one of the things that really stood out to me was that, like, was the idea of taking control of your subconscious, and when doing so, that becomes reflected into your reality.
Yes, indeed. So it's talks a lot about the, again, like I said, like in introspection and the power of like positive thoughts and healthy thinking, things like that. But
well, he calls it autosuggestion.
Yes, autosuggestion, yes.
Yeah. So, like, in terms of the autosuggestion, well, I mean, which is like, I mean, well, it's weird because, like, it's basically, the way he describes it is just talking to yourself positively, of course, and in doing so, convinces your subconscious mind. Oh God, I don't know why I'm having trouble saying that word. Subconscious mind, which in turn reflects into your reality.
Yes. It's like affirmation.
Yeah.
It's essentially affirmation. Yeah.
And to be honest, I've that was one of the parts that hit me the most, because I was like, whoa, I didn't think that was a thing, and now it is.
Yeah. So it's a big. I mean, it's been around. It's obviously nothing new. I mean, this book is from, I think, 1937. I want to say. So
yeah,
it's what, 80 years old.
80 years old.
It's an 80-year-old book, and it still definitely holds up.
Oh, for sure.
Holds up for sure. But something I don't have like a problem with. Well, like you said, there is some weird parts. Like he talks about sex transmutation.
Oh God, that's one of the parts that I don't really agree with.
Like what it kind of goes. It goes a little bit kind of like, okay, I'm not too sure what this is, but you know, they're not all home runs, but you know, he's got a pretty decent batting record, you know. So, but I do have one kind of problem with the book, and it's to do with the title.
Okay.
And I wonder if you agree with my sort of thinking here.
Okay.
That I think it's kind of misnamed.
What do you mean?
Like, you know, I get Think and Grow Rich. Yes, you can apply this to Think and Grow Rich for sure. But I think for the book as a whole, at least from what I took away from it, would be more Think and Be Successful. Because the book doesn't necessarily talk about amassing wealth as much, but I think you can apply the principles that he lays out here to almost anything you want to be successful at. I would say if you want to learn an instrument, you want to speak a second language, you want to get some money in your bank account, you know, anything that you want to be successful at, you want to find the perfect, you know, find a partner for yourself. I think you could apply these to almost anything. Yeah.
I won't say no. I definitely won't say no to that.
But you disagree.
No. I don't disagree fully.
Okay.
The reason why that's the case is because in the beginning of the book, one of the first things that he definitely brings up is money for sure. And the whole, well, it's not how do you say this? Like, it's not really like it's about money, but at the same time it's about another concept as well. Basically what I'm trying to say is within the beginning of the book he talks about something called desire.
Yes.
And when someone has a desire for something, then technically it shouldn't be taken as a face value word. It should be taken as a driving force.
Right.
And within that desire, you basically just do whatever it is you need to do to get whatever it is that you desire. I mean, technically from that perspective, yeah, that can be applied to anything. But the thing is, in his book, when he talks about desire, one of the key things that he talks about is some steps of exactly how to get money. So, like, he's saying that if money is something that you desire, then you should determine exactly how much money it is that you want, or how much money that you're actually aiming to acquire, how much money you are willing to give up, and then to create a definite plan to acquire said money. And then from there, he talks more about going into taking the first steps.
Right, but could you not... Okay, maybe renaming the book is a bit strong, but could you not then take that and transfer that example over to pretty much anything?
Well, that's why I said I don't 100%.
Yeah. So yeah, I take your point that in the book, maybe a better way to phrase it would be that you could take the examples he's used about money and use that for almost anything. So while the book is more or less centered around about, you know, amassing wealth, you could take that and apply that to pretty much any area of your life you're looking to be successful in, I would say.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, but in that case, yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah. So there you go. So why don't we for people at home who haven't read the book, first of all, I'd definitely recommend you go out and get it, even if you've got just a copy at home that you can sort of browse through every now and then, because it's definitely one of those books you can come back to, for sure. You know, I find myself picking up every now and then and sort of taking a look at one of the chapters and sort of trying to better understand or trying to reinforce or just remember the kind of principles that he lays out in there. So why don't we, for the people at home who haven't read the book, why don't we just go through each sort of section of the book and sort of give our sort of quick thoughts about it. So we covered desire and what desire is. I believe the next one was faith.
Faith. Yes.
Yes, which you and I had a bit of a discussion about here in the week off air. About faith and the role it plays in achieving what you want to achieve.
Right.
So you know my thoughts. So I'm gonna let you go first, and then I'll jump in with my
faith, I feel, is a very, very strong word. And the thing is, for those of you who haven't read, when he talks about faith, he doesn't necessarily believe, or not. I was about to say something different there. He's not necessarily talking about religion, but what he is talking about is basically kind of affirming to yourself, or basically like affirming that in the end, everything that you're going to do is going to be worth it. So long as, you kind of keep to it. I mean,
yes.
Yeah, and like a little bit further down the line, he, starts going, because he also does mention the subconscious in that chapter.
Yes, he does, yeah.
Yeah, but he goes a little bit more into that a little bit later, which goes into the autosuggestion, which is kind of what I mentioned earlier. So, I mean, faith in this particular sense, I feel, is kind of more. It's. Yeah, I'm not even exactly sure like what I'm trying to say here on that part. Like, because like I just know that really it's more along the lines that it's taking whatever it is you desire, going through this plan that you have created, and just having, you just believing, having faith, whichever words you choose to use, that in the end there will be some effect, or like things will happen, and it will basically, I'm not gonna say turn out to be all right, but it will definitely be a lot better than at zero, like doing nothing at all.
Yeah. I think what he's saying in the faith chapter is essentially that you just, as silly as it kind of sounds, because why would you do it if you didn't believe you could do it? But it's basically saying believe that you can do what you set out to do. That's mostly what he's saying about faith. I think, and it's that's kind of two halves of believing in yourself and knowing that if I do this, I'm going to achieve it, and also the kind of tricking the subconscious into believing that you've already done it. So it's that kind of whole, like, you've got to believe in yourself and then fake it before you make it kind of thing. So it says two balancing acts of or not really balancing acts, it's sort of like complementary sides of believing you can do it and tricking yourself into thinking that you can do it, or that you've already done it, and what that does is build self-belief and build self-confidence, and from that it allows you to sort of do what you need to do to actually achieve your desires, versus you kind of going, oh, I don't know, let's see, maybe I could do this. If I do this, it probably fail. But you've got to have self-belief, and you've also got to kind of live the life before you live it. And that's the kind of that's kind of what I took away from his faith section of the book. There is it's kind of interesting.
That's much better than what I thought.
Yeah, and that kind of fake it before you make it kind of thing kind of leads into number 3, which is autosuggestion.
Autosuggestion,
which is the sort of self-affirmation, as we talked about a little bit earlier. So Eddie, why don't you leave us with your thoughts on that?
This is one of the bigger parts of the book that stood out to me, because I definitely very practical. Well, at least the first half.
yeah. Well, I would say it's one of the more practical, more action steps you can take in the book. Go on. Sorry, carry on. Yes.
I mean, because essentially, like, one of the things that he mentions in there is to basically like self-affirm every day. And rather than going into this mindset of like, I can't do it, or I won't be able to do it, or just that kind of stuff, it's basically, telling yourself that everything is, well, not everything is going to be okay, but just basically he has a self-confidence formula that he spells out in the I believe it's in this chapter. I'm pretty sure it's in this chapter. It would make sense if it was in this chapter. But he has this whole self-confidence formula that he spells out, and the thing he says to say this to yourself to increase your self-confidence, because one of the things that he says is one of the bigger killers of people nowadays, whatever it is that they're trying to do, is that they lack confidence, and it basically just kills their effort. Because when you lack confidence, you don't really lack that full drive to move forward and persist forward.
Right, kind of comes from almost confidence also drives like fear.
Right. And the thing is, with this formula that he spells out, it's basically a way that you're telling your subconscious that you can do it, that you will be able to achieve your goals, and it works. I mean, it worked for me, and it's definitely a very powerful part. The only thing that I don't agree with that is he recommends like in the morning and at night, like every single day. Like, I think that's a bit too much, I mean,
well, that's very self-affirmation though. You get the sort of you wake up in the morning, you look in the mirror, and you tell yourself 10 things you like about it. It's one of the, it's sort of a very widespread concept that that's kind of self-affirmation, and that really does get into your subconscious. And writing down your goals, putting them up where you can see them, and telling yourself your dreams and desires every day and every morning. It gets it into your head, and it sort of, again, it's like tricking the subconscious into believing that it's faking it before you make it, kind of thing. It's like you're kind of gearing yourself up, even though it may seem silly, sitting in bed or laying in bed every day and saying out your desires, but you say it enough, and then when you start to believe it, things can happen.
Yeah, and I would definitely argue that, like, once it gets to that point, it does reflect into at least the way that you see the world after that. Like, I don't know. Because, like, once you start feeling more confident in yourself and everything like that, for me, things change. Like, it doesn't seem so bad anymore. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I see that. So the next step, the next section is specialized knowledge, which is this is probably the most about like money itself. It's probably the most part about like gaining riches, and it's essentially it's quite simple. It's just saying that there's specialized knowledge and then there's general knowledge. You're probably not going to get rich in general knowledge, but if you've got specialized knowledge, then you're most likely you've got a better chance of making it. For example, specialized knowledge is something like learning how to, or knowing how to make steel, or how to build buildings, or plumbing, electrics, something of use to people that generally people cannot do by themselves. It's something that is a very specialized skill, and something you've got to study it, and something you've got to know, something you've got to learn. And that is and you bring that kind of specialized knowledge in the right package to the market, and that's kind of how you become, you grow rich.
Well, the thing is, in this part, I agree with the idea with specialized knowledge. However, it kind of goes against the philosophy of like Rich Dad Poor Dad. You know what I mean? Because like in Rich Dad Poor Dad, it's better. Like, you could say that the argument there is it's better to be adaptable. So therefore, it's better to know a lot or a little about a lot versus a lot about a little.
But then you can still say he knows a lot about, well, a little about a lot, but those a lot things are also specialized.
What do you mean?
It doesn't necessarily mean, so when it says specialized versus general knowledge, it doesn't necessarily mean like deep exactly how to do that thing. But it's more that you're looking for more specialized things to invest in.
Okay. That all right. Well,
it's kind of it's kind of like, if you know a lot, you've got business stocks and all that sort of stuff, but you were to invest in a business that does shoe tying versus a business that does shoe mending, it's it's still you still got that kind of overview, but you're investing into, obviously you would invest into the shoe mending because not many people know how to mend shoes. Everyone knows how to tie shoes. That's the kind of generalized versus specialized dichotomy you got there. And so I think when he's talking about this, he's talking about investing into those things, whether it's time, money, knowledge, learning how to do these things yourself. I think the idea is investment into specialized knowledge versus general knowledge is preferable.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's what I would say. So next part is imagination, the workshop of the mind.
So why don't you start off with
this one? Okay. So it's, again, this is kind of like it's about like creativity, this one, and it's, if you think about it, this is a really interesting chapter because it kind of goes through, it kind of outlines how ideas are formed and how products are made or how services are made. So for example, it's basically saying, take an existing idea and then you add some creativity and think about it in a new way, and you can create something new from nothing. So that he's got, there's two parts of the imagination that he talks about. He talks about synthetic imagination, which is the reordering of existing ideas into something new. Which is like, for example, the iPhone, right? It wasn't the first phone like that, but it definitely did it the best. It took what already existed and made it better and sold it to the market. The market bought it. Now it's a multi-billion-dollar, hundreds of billions of dollars, industry.
Right.
And then versus creative imagination, which is thinking of something entirely new.
Right.
Like the last big thing that was like is maybe like, the internet or the fixed wing aircraft, things like that, which are creative, almost come from nothing, and then we create these things and then they become, so ubiquitous in this day and age. You don't even think about someone had to actually come up with that idea in the first place.
Right.
Yeah, and that's kind of what he's talking about. It's more like when you're thinking about like ideas, what you want to do, or if you've got a product or a service you want to bring to market, the kind of two ways. And I think both one is just as valid as the other. While there's, the internet and fixed wing planes and stuff, there's, Facebook, which was, MySpace came out before Facebook, and, Facebook just kind of took what they were doing, made it better. The iPhone took what other phone manufacturers were and doing it better. So that's like synthetic imagination. And then you've got the creative imagination, which is creating something out of completely nothing almost.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add on that? I don't know if I covered anything you wanted to, or missed anything you wanted to cover on that one.
Yeah, you basically just covered everything that I was gonna say.
Okay. All right, then I'll let you take the next one, which is something I'm a big fan of, as we've talked about before. I think it was one of our first like major disagreements. Is organized planning. Yes.
Organized planning. It's the planning part that kind of gets me. Because the whole thing is like when you're coming up with a plan, it's more to me, a plan is plan A goes to plan B to plan C and to plan D, et cetera, so on and so forth. And it just goes it's very linear. But the idea of strategizing kind of takes into account any failures that go into play. And I know he kind of goes into it a little bit, but not so much. I don't know. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, he kind of does what I do, which is you make a plan, but you can revise and update the plan because you're gonna fail at some point.
Well, yeah.
Not if you fail, you're gonna fail at some point. So it's the whole like I have a plan. I'm gonna do A, B, and C to get from here to there, and then I do A through B. Okay, nothing went wrong, and then I'll go from B to C. Okay, there's an issue. Then you revise the plan. So it's like driving a car from A to B, and there's roadworks along the road. No one told you because Google Maps didn't tell you because it didn't know because it's supposed to know everything, but it didn't. But it's like taking that and the roadworks. Okay, let's do a diversion, but I'm still going to the same place, kind of thing.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because like when it comes to like altering a plan. I don't know. There's just a part of that because like when you're going along, like I agree with the whole point that when you're going down like a line or a plan, you're going to fail at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But when you've already thought about that failure, and then you have, I don't know, a way to work with it or a way to go around it, that seems more like strategizing. To where if you're just altering a plan, it's like you're reorganizing the whole plan based on that failure.
Not necessarily the whole plan. Although it could be. Okay, so say for example, you plan on getting rich by putting your money in the stock market. And you put your money in the stock market, the next day the market crashes, you go to zero, nothing.
Right.
Now your plan is to still rich by putting money in the stock market. Okay, let's say it crashes zero and the stock market doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
Then you just go, oh, okay, well, that's it, I guess.
Okay.
Or do you reorganize the plan to get rich?
Well, the thing is, my idea is that when you go, like, using your analogy in terms of the stock market, you would have already thought about what to do before it crashes because you count that as a possibility.
Right, but so you would have a sort of failure plan.
If you will. But it's more like you have an initial plan, and then you have a whole bunch of plans backed up on that plan for possibilities.
Okay. I would say that would just be revising and updating. If the situation presented itself all of a sudden, you would kind of just revise and update. Oh, well, that's probably not going to work anymore. You know?
No, but revising and updating is more like if something's already occurred.
Right, exactly.
But in terms of... But you would be thinking... ahead in terms of strategizing.
Not well. I don't.
So before,
yeah, you could. Yeah. I see your point, but I would say it's more. You have a plan if everything goes right, and that's what plans are.
Okay.
Because plans don't necessarily. Okay, you may have like contingency plans and so off, like, but you're not going to have a plan for every single situation that could go wrong.
Right.
So that's more like adaptability. That's more like adjusting, which is more what I think he's trying to say here, which is more the see, I told you this was one of the first things we actually disagreed on in a previous episode. If you listen to that one, I think that what he's talking about is having a plan. Like, I'm going to do this, and this, and the plan is if everything goes well, this is what it should look like.
Right. But
if things go wrong, then you readjust the plan to sort of work around it.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
like I think even if you're not a fan of planning, you probably have a plan of some kind to get rich.
Yeah. I think we have a little bit time for one more, I think.
Yeah, what I want to do is like a quick like rapid fire round. If we want to just do that, we get through these.
All right, rapid fire. Let's go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, next one, pre-explanatory. Procrastination, don't do it. Next, persistence. It's what don't do it. By don't do it, I mean just do it. Just get into it, get started. Don't worry about your brain saying, "Oh no, let's clean up the closet." Forget it. Do it. Just start doing it. By don't do it, but don't procrastinate. Don't do that, but do other stuff. Not procrastination. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, next. Persistence. Keep at it. Keep going. It's one of my main tenets, and it's one of the tenets I want to instill in you guys. We want to instill in you guys. Persistence. Keep going. Have faith, which kind of comes back to faith, but keep going, right?
Right.
Okay, next one. Power of the mastermind. This one's a bit more interesting. This is about keeping like the right people around you, that balanced perspective, which is kind of what Eddie and I are to each other, right?
Right.
Yeah. So we bounce ideas, and that sort of keeps us driving forward.
Right.
Mystery of sex transmutation. This is strange, but this is rather interesting. It's an interesting concept, actually. But it's basically you turn your desire for sex and reproduction into desire for money. Essentially, is what he's saying.
Yeah, this is one of the ones I'm not entirely convinced on, but you know,
it's very. What I think what he's kind of trying to say overall is that you want to make it like a base instinct.
I think it's more along the lines of like, because you know, like there are people out there that like the whole reason why they kind of do what they like, those people that work out solely so they could hook up with a woman.
Right.
Yeah, basically that, but like with money. So that's why they look out for like success and stuff like that, or that's why they try to be successful for the sake of being attractive, I guess. I don't
know. Oh, I took it as in like you take that desire for like sex and, you know, food and breathing, you know, what's the hierarchy of needs kind of thing, and you take it into that kind of base instinct, and once you've got that, it will kind of drive you to get money.
Right.
Essentially, that's why I took from it. Anyway, next, subconscious mind. Again, we've kind of gone on this before. Remove negativity, increase positivity. Need I say more?
Yeah.
Right. The next one's kind of weird. The brain as well. It's kind of dated because they didn't really understand how the brain worked.
Yeah.
It's kind of those dated chapters where you look at it and go, okay, I can kind of see this in the context of the time, but now we know a bit more, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of thing. And then the last one, the Sixth Sense. Again, very odd. So towards the end of the book, it gets a little bit, you know, it gets a bit, I would say existential. It gets a little bit, yeah. And that's one you probably have to read a bit more to see how Hill kind of lays down what his sixth sense is. It's kind of like the subconscious of just knowing things. It's kind of strange, but that's definitely one of the weirder ones.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So those are kind of like the main. Those are pretty much the chapters of the book. Definitely recommend you go in and sort of read it for yourself. Go into a bit more depth. Take a look at the examples that he uses. He's got a lot of like real world examples of people who have done the things that he's talking about in the book and how it worked for them. Some more than others. But yeah, this is a very interesting read, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely.
So
yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, it was one of the better books that I've read. So go for it.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's a great book.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the end of episode 12 of the Two Broke Gaijin podcast. Eddie, any last thoughts?
No, good on my side.
Okay, I'll just say definitely go pick it up. Have a skim through it. You can do it. It's not one of those books you have to read from beginning to end. You can just kind of skip around, breeze around the chapters. So definitely you can pick it up for reference, for sure. And so yeah, that's it for episode 12, everybody. Thank you very much for listening to the Two Broke Gaijin podcast. If you want to get in contact with the show, share your thoughts or send us some feedback, or send a question for us, or you want to share a story that you've got, please send an email into twobrokegaijin@gmail.com. That's twobrokegaijin@gmail.com. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter as well. You can find us at Two Broke Gaijin. That's at Two Broke Gaijin on everything, branding. Until next time, guys, thank you very much for listening.